Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is your co-host, Ted Stryker, on board flight GnWC to Dallas. It is 80 degrees and clear skies, and it should be a smooth ride with an ETA of 48 minutes.
What is happening?
Sir, I'm going to need you to return to your seat, please.
I signed up for a prediction show. What's going on?
Don't call me Shirley.
But I didn't. Can I call you Angry Larry?
Only in jive.
Oh man, no topless pics here, by the way. So
Wait, what happened?
what?
That's my other podcast. Go ahead.
What happened? Yeah, that's your other podcast. We're gonna keep it PG here, so I probably shouldn't have even mentioned that. However, Airplane is PG. Fun fact. It's rated PG. And anyway, we'll move on.
No, my favorite part of that movie was when they were walking through the
chaos.
doors and they were just going, shh, shh.
Was that movie?
I don't know. I don't watch movies.
I feel like you're making things up. Anyway, I'm the Duke. That's Angry Larry. And our extended intro is over now. It's over. And we're going to just rock it here, talking about NXT Takeover and what we predict is going to happen. Let's get through it, Larry.
Can I foreshadow here for a second?
Do it.
Set something up. Yeah, okay.
Ready, go.
Here's why I love NXT. It is one of the best wrestling produced shows I've ever seen. The wrestling's good. The storyline's fantastic. Everything about it is just, you're just emotionally invested. And going back to the debut of this generation of NXT, a studio TV taping kind of show, back in July 2012, you can go back and watch any of those episodes, and it's just awesome. Even if it's Primo and Epico versus Hunico and Camacho, like guys you would throw away all the time. Jinder Mahal versus the then Drew McIntyre. You might not want to see that match on Raw, but for some reason when it's in the NXT ring, it's special. It means something. Like, you're into it. The wrestling's good. The guys are allowed to do things they were not able to do on SmackDown for some reason. Case in point, there's also, well, not case in point yet, but there's also, when you go back in time, you see all the names who were then in NXT in some capacity. You know, Derek Bateman, Ethan Carter III. I watched an episode from 2013. The Ascension, who were the tag team champions, had an open challenge. The Wolves, Davey Richards and Eddie Edwards, were their opponent. One night only, they were in NXT. I don't know if that was in between stints in TNA or before they got to TNA, but it was cool to see, especially for a big fan like me and not even knowing that. In that same episode, there was a lumberjack match, and you saw Braun Strowman for the first time. Eli Drake from TNA was at ringside in the same match. So, and it goes to what we're saying, Duke, like with the women, Deonna Purrazzo and my favorite Santana Garrett and Evie, and they all make appearances here and there. Rich Swann on the men's side as well. It's such a great place. It has such an independent wrestling feel to it. It almost feels like anybody can show up, and that doesn't happen in any other wrestling company you traditionally have watched on TV, be it WWE or WCW. Those guys had to be contracted wrestlers to appear on those TV shows. You could have guys in like squash matches that were signed locally, but I don't know. Am I wrong? Like, NXT does it so differently that it's just amazing. Like, you want to see what happens, you want to see who's wrestling, and you want to see who shows up, even if it is in a quote-unquote squash match.
No, I don't think you're wrong. And people will hate on, WWE for not putting over people from that have come from outside the company who have been successful elsewhere. Like AJ Styles, they're totally not putting and other people, whatever, and things they won't do with NXT talent. But on NXT, in the NXT bubble, you have things happening that just don't happen anywhere else except for like New Japan, and I guess to a similar extent, Ring of Honor,
I mean,
but it's produced at such a high level.
Yeah, indies are doing what NXT have done for like ever, and you have a local Northeast independent wrestling company, and and they sign a guy from Virginia who's big in the Virginia area, and he shows up and he wrestles. But that doesn't happen on the main at a WWE owned company, so to speak, and because of that,
NXT it doesn't happen at a place like TNA. Or very rarely.
Very rarely. I mean,
most,
you had your
most of the time most of the time it's about building the superstars within that bubble.
Yeah,
and it's great to see. It's great to see a WWE product, which is some going back to something we were talking about off air, but it's great to see NXT, which is a WWE product, whether you want to admit it or not, do something like that and recognize people's pedigree from before they walk in the door there, even if they may not say exactly where they came from.
Yeah, they didn't call them Eddie Edwards and Davey Richards. They changed their name, and they weren't the American Wolves. They were like the American Coyotes or something. But
but I mean, someone like James Storm, it's a big deal that he shows up, and they play it up that he shows up.
Yeah,
they don't say he's coming from TNA,
and they don't hide him under a different name. He's not the Cowboy Rick Robinson.
Yeah, he's freaking James Storm,
and he's not changing his catchphrase. Sorry about your damn luck to go buy a lotto ticket, bro. You know what I mean? It's I don't know. I don't know where I came up with that one, but listen,
I like that one. That one was good. That's a great tagline.
That is a great tagline. There should be like the Lotto Master. He should come out with like his costume should be like a big tumbler of numbers.
Yeah, exactly.
But no, not a tumbler. The vacuum one that sucks the number up.
Oh yeah, the pneumatic tube one. Yeah, that's good.
My point with all this like preamble here is, or monologue. I don't even know if preamble is even technically right, but my monologue here is to support the fact that did you think in NXT 4 months ago, let's say, that 1, Austin Aries would be in a match, and 2, Nakamura would also be in a match, and the way NXT sets up their takeovers, and then the shows after the between the next takeover to the next takeover is amazing, because it's almost like every takeover is like a season finale in a way. And you could have a continuing storyline, and Finn versus Samoa Joe is a continuing storyline from the last takeover. Or you have a new chapter. And the players are never the same takeover to takeover. You had Asuka last year debut in one of them. Apollo Crews debuted in another. Even, what are the other names I'm missing out? There are just so many top names that just get rotated through NXT that it doesn't feel stale the way that the top brands pay-per-views feel stale month to month. And it could be because they're one every 3 or 4 months, or it just could be the introduction of the new people, new talent, a mixture of indie vets, other promotions vets, and your own talent. And I think that makes for a great show. And I think that if you're not watching NXT, and you're probably not listening to this, but if you know somebody who doesn't watch NXT, you have to make a point to make them watch and start at a takeover, and then because they've all been phenomenal.
Start at Brooklyn.
Well, you don't have to go chronologically. I mean, you start at any takeover, because they've all been special. I'm just
saying, if you want someone to really be like, holy crap, what is this?
Well, you can also say London too, because the crowd was so intense and involved as well. You can also go back to the, I think, Arrival, or I think it was called, where they had the 4-way match with Bo Dallas, Zayn, Tyson Kidd, and
Neville.
I don't know why I want to put Bo Dallas in that match. Did I say Bo Dallas?
Yeah, he was in that match. Wasn't he?
No, Tyson Kidd, Zayn, Neville, and Tyler Breeze.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
I was wrong.
Okay, so I said all that, and I rambled on just to say that NXT good, and if you're not watching it, you should. And that was a haiku. So
very, very good.
Thank you.
Maybe.
I'm going to say the first match here in this show is going to be Sami Zayn versus Nakamura.
Sure.
High
Good
explosive,
hot open.
high energy, your face of NXT who's virtually out the door.
Yep.
And I think he might do a little bit of a lingering effect the same way like Sasha and Becky kind of did when they left. They kind of were at the next TV tapings, but then that was really it. Sammy's on the bigger and brighter things. This is kind of like an NXT passing the torch in terms of Nakamura being the new, fresh superstar to enter the building. And I really don't think they have Nakamura lose in his first match.
No.
And they have Sami Zayn lose quite often. So...
Yeah, but I feel like he's comfortable in that role.
Yeah, no, it doesn't hurt his stock at all. And he's already out the door, and passing the torches mean you kind of lose when you move up. You know, it's stupid as that sounds. You lose and then get promoted.
Right. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of how it works. It's kind of how it works. It depends on the character, but it seems most baby faces lose on their way up. You know, it's essentially their swan song. So, and then I would see him having an in-ring send-off similar to the Wyatt family and other people who have left as sort of heroes of NXT.
During this telecast or next TV taping?
Next TV taping.
I don't know if the next TV taping happened already. This is why I don't really like reading into these things, because I don't like when TV tapings overlap live shows.
Yeah, I don't think it's... I doubt it's happened.
I think the next TV taping is the pre-show of Takeover, kind of like what they did in Brooklyn and I guess also in London. Where
Oh, yeah, which means they wouldn't do... Yeah, there wouldn't be a send-off there. Yeah. Maybe he just does a backstage send-off.
Yeah, they wouldn't do they wouldn't tape the send-off first and then have the show.
Right.
But
right, exactly.
They can always tape the send-off after the show. That's no big deal, but... Yeah. I would expect the send-off to be in Full Sail. So maybe he's at the next TV tapings. Maybe he does one more match. Maybe it's a tag match. Maybe it's him and Nakamura versus, Vaudevillains or whatever. Something simple, something easy, and then it's just...
That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, kind of cool. But we'll see. But Nakamura, I have this one. I think it's a no-brainer.
But, I mean, talk about a full weekend for somebody.
Well, I mean, we've seen this before with all the double shots.
I know, but seriously, to go from to a 7-man ladder match, holy crap!
I think Owens did the reverse. Owens went from the ladder match to John Cena.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true. That's true. That shows, like, for all the garbage people say about, oh, you're not using these guys, they need to move up the card faster, blah 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 blah. It's just like, holy crap, man! You can't put much more stock in people than to do what you've done with Zayn and Owens.
For every intentional quote unquote burying of a Tyler Breeze, there's been a Kevin Owens that has beat John Cena
on his first night.
For every quote unquote where is Bo Dallas, there's been a Big E that has won the Intercontinental Championship and debuted as a bodyguard with Dolph Ziggler and went immediately to WrestleMania. Or your Seth Rollins is that debuted in the Shield and just kicked ass all over the place.
Right. It still would be if he had not gotten injured.
It's probably less than 50%, but they're not equal. You're not a main event heavyweight champion in NXT and then go directly to main event heavyweight champion in the main roster. It's not real world.
Right.
So, but we can get on that, and I think we've had
a different topic
altogether.
But back to what I was saying. Talk about a full weekend for Sami Zayn.
Yeah,
that's good. But yeah, Nakamura goes over.
Yeah,
and then what you got next?
Tag team championship match: the Revival versus the American Alpha. And now I think you kind of mentioned this before we started recording, and I'm kind of going to say the opposite here. I don't think there was much build-up for this match other than here's your number one contender, and then we're going to have the teams watch the other team on a TV during their matches this week.
You're not wrong, actually.
Okay.
There hasn't been there's been nothing really personal between the two of
The
them.
only thing these two...
They've actually kept them very separate, and that seems very intentional now that I think about it.
The only thing that these two have really in common to have a match with each other is the fact that they've recently only gotten tag team names. The Revival and Alpha Male have been virtually created within the last 2 months, maybe shorter, a period of time.
Sure, during the latest tapings, yeah.
And we're 3 weeks ago, where the Revival were defending their championship in a heated feud with Enzo and Cass, and then we roll right off of that to just, hey, they're going to fight American Alpha in Takeover Dallas.
Well, you had the number one contenders match, but yeah.
Yeah, I guess we did. But
yeah, you had the
that was
number one
before. That was
contenders
before that
right
match,
before.
though, right?
Yeah, that week.
All right. Yeah.
The week of the special, you had the number one contenders match. So it's one of those things where
who'd they fight? Blake and Murphy? I already forget.
Blake and Murphy.
Okay.
But
there was a 4-way before that, right? That was the Revival and Blake and Murphy versus Alpha Males and American Males and whatever their name is, dude. It's not working for me.
American Alpha.
Jordan and Gable.
American Alpha.
You remember American Males theme song? It was just American Males. American. You know you're doing the clap, dude.
Next.
I'm not into this match. I don't think there's been anything that sucked me into this match. And as much as I want Jordan and Gable to win, I'm going to go out on the limb here and just say Revival retain. It's not...
Right, I'm going American Alpha because it's in Texas, and you don't get much more America than Texas.
The other two dudes look like they're from Texas, though.
Fair enough, but I could see... I say American Alpha goes over, and it will be a great match. I don't know how long this match will be, though. That's the only thing. While the tag team matches have been really good, it seems like a lot of people getting in their spots, and
they've done a lot of ham and egger matches lately.
And the Revival will get in there, work a body part thing or whatever, and then win by some sort of tomfoolery or whatever. So some sort of shenanigans.
Not the alley-oop suplex with a bridge.
Right.
They're gonna win with a roll up out of nowhere, like everyone else wins with now.
Yeah. So it's...
Can we talk 2 hours about how I hate roll-ups?
Fruit roll-ups or...
Like, sunset flips and...
But do you like fruit roll-ups?
I used to stick them on my face like a mask. Tell me you've never done that. You like bit out an eye hole?
Never really ate fruit roll-ups.
I used to roll it up into like a big ball, just put it in my mouth, and it would dissolve. It was like the grossest thing ever. Probably not good for me either. But I don't know why. I think the Revival win here. I just don't think there was a build up enough to be like, hey, we got over on you guys. You couldn't beat us.
Yeah,
I don't think American Alpha has been. Yeah, I just don't think they were built up to be the team that takes the title. Enzo and Cass were built up to be the team that takes the title. Yeah,
I will say I feel like this is some weird booking. That while they treat tag team matches and tag team story for the most part with a lot of respect and a lot of care, it feels like this one did kind of get a little lost. I almost wonder if something happened that caused this.
Let me bring something up though. Lucha Dragons beat the Ascension out of nowhere. Blake and Murphy beat the Lucha Dragons out of nowhere. The Vaudevillains beat Blake and Murphy, and it was kind of a feud, and it was on a big stage, sure. But then the Revivals beat the Vaudevillains out of nowhere. So 3 of the last 4 tag team championship changes were virtually non-feuds. They happened at a TV taping. So while they've treated the tag team division tremendously over the last few months, when it comes to changing the title, it's really been like on the fly booking almost. We're going to do it at this TV taping. So it could happen. I'm not feeling it. But then again, I probably wasn't feeling it the other 3 times as well, and it happened. And it's wrestling.
So you're going Revival. I'm going American
Yeah,
Alpha.
I'm just gonna go Revival. It's just a big feel. Okay, so speaking of revivals,
Yeah.
Austin Aries makes his debut against Baron Corbin, the Lone Wolf, Baron Corbin, who doesn't like Virgil apparently. So I wonder if he doesn't like Virgil because Virgil was claiming to be Xavier Woods' father. No?
You're not my dad.
We don't have a clip? No clip? Okay, moving on.
No clip.
No clip. We're moving on. All right, much like the Nakamura-Sami Zayn match, I'm going to say that Austin Aries doesn't lose his debut. Although, if this feud were to spill over another couple months or TV tapings or whatever, then Austin Aries losing and then him beating Baron Corbin and then leading it to a rubber match makes perfect sense. The problem I have with speculating on that with NXT is the fact that their bigger stage events are 3 months apart, like I talked about earlier. So are you going to lock these two in a feud to last until next TakeOver, which will be 2 or 3, probably 3 TV tapings worth of stuff that you're going to do with them? Or is this like a one and done, Austin Aries wins, and then now he's moving up the ranks, so to speak, and Baron Corbin's looking for redemption? What do you think's going to happen here?
Yeah, see, this is really hard to call because of that, because there's so many people from NXT that are expected to come up this year. And we've talked about how maybe it's not a good time for the champions, or if they do come up, don't expect them to be like the superstars of the roster at that point. Bailey, a bigger shot, but she would still sort of have to work her way up. Anyway, we talked about that last week. But I feel like Corbin is a guy I say he's a guy you need on the roster because you don't really have, and not to be punny here, you don't really have the lone wolf heel on the roster who just doesn't care about anything or anybody. You kind of have Kevin Owens, but he's already, but you don't have like an up and comer. I mean, Kevin Owens isn't an up and comer. Kevin Owens is knocking on the door of the main event, in my opinion. So I don't feel like
the big guy.
Yeah, he's awful. And I love the questions that are associated on our scorecard for that, by the way.
We'll get into that tomorrow.
Yeah, we'll get into that tomorrow. Look up WrestleMania scorecard, by the way. But
also look up Walmart bingo.
Good. I don't know how that's relevant. Anyway, I say all that to say I feel like Corbin is going up soon, but at the same time, Austin Aries. I mean, why would you keep him down in NXT very long, either? So here's how I could see this match go, or this feud going. I could see this feud moving to the main roster, where one of them goes to the main roster and the other one follows to sort of make sort of a Sami Zayn Kevin Owens thing, but more immediate, as opposed to, I mean, which Sami Zayn Kevin Owens was supposed to be more immediate, but then Zayn had his issue. So I could see this being the story they wanted to do with Owens and Zayn happening with Austin Aries and Baron Corbin. So I could actually see Corbin winning this. So I'm going to go with Corbin. So, and I don't know if this will be a feud that moves up to the main roster. One guy goes to interfere with something or make a name for himself, and the other guy shows up to put him in his place. That could work. That story could work, especially with two guys like this, because Corbin is just a great heel, and there's such a desperate need for great heels on the roster, especially one like Corbin, who really, it seems legit for a shoot, does not care if people cheer or boo him, actually wants people to boo him. He's as old school a heel as you're going to see in wrestling today, it seems. So and his background helps too. I mean, he's essentially an outsider. What that amazing, like, what really sparked him as a serious heel was the promo where he said, you know, everyone else, you worked your way up, you paid your dues, you did your time. I made a phone call. Unbelievable.
You know
So
me.
I could see,
I'm very.
I could really see. I don't see. It's not the normal thing to have the outside guy come in and lose, especially when you put him on a big show, but and actually had a little story feud thing happen, as opposed to it just being sort of an honor match like you have with Nakamura and Zayn. But I could see Corbin winning this, and so I'm going to go Corbin.
You know how stubborn I am when it comes to NXT superstars making an impact on the main roster. Now,
I do.
Yeah,
I do.
You definitely do. I think Aries wins this, and I think in much of a way where Sami Zayn moves on, I am going to say that I think Sami Zayn excluded because he's already on the main roster. If there was a time for anybody to be on the main roster after WrestleMania, I think Corbin's the guy. Now, I do say Austin Aries wins, and here's like the biggest test of all, and I say this a lot. WrestleMania is a big deal. Wrestling in my family, watching it used to be a big deal. So for WrestleMania, you know, it's going to be me, my dad, my nephew who now has 2 kids, you know, my brother, my brother-in-law. A lot of people are coming over for wrestling who haven't watched wrestling in a long time. The ultimate test of do these guys work on the main roster, I feel, is does it appeal to a casual fan who doesn't know of NXT, who watches Monday Night Raw weekly, but clamors for the days of the Attitude Era? And I have a feeling that I'm going to get a lot of, who's this guy? Who's this guy? Who's this guy? This guy's terrible. These girls are horrible when it comes to matches of, you know, Charlotte, Becky, and Sasha, and Sami Zayn and stuff like. Well, it's a ladder match, so that's going to be a little bit different. But Dean Ambrose as well. I'm very negative. I'm very down. I'm very stubborn on that because half of me is the wrestling enthusiast IWC guy that clamors for Austin Aries to be your Intercontinental title holder. And then the other half of me is the guy that says Baron Corbin goes on the main roster and gets like no reaction. And I don't know if these guys really, I mean, I don't know. Convince me otherwise. Why does a fan care about Baron Corbin on the main roster if they have no idea what NXT is?
Baron Corbin comes in and interferes in a match that matters. A match that people care about. Baron Corbin comes in and inserts himself into the picture.
Okay. So so you basically brought up my only point to everything. Like my only like closing argument is the fact that my confidence is not in the fact that Austin Aries and Baron Corbin aren't good in their roles. My confidence is is the lack of faith in main roster booking for fresh and new talent. And the fact that I never see them making Baron Corbin interrupt the match and destroying, you know, social outcasts and whoever is in the ring and just destroying everyone, laying them out and leaving. They did that with the Shield, though, and it worked.
Right. Well, they committed to it. That was the big thing with the Shield, and a lot of that was because they were so on board with Reigns. And then I think someone is just like, oh, my God, Rollins is amazing. And this Dean guy's really good, too.
And then you have the meme that says...
kind of just happened.
You know, future world champions and Roman Reigns. So it even started back then.
Yeah.
But, okay, so we disagree on this one. You have Corbin, I have Austin Aries. And you know what the absolute worst thing for Baron Corbin would be? He hits the main roster, and he's teamed with Summer Rae.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the death nail. That's how you spin your wheels for 1 to 2 to infinity years.
Fandango.
Yeah. Yep.
Women's championship match. Champion, it's Bayley versus the queen of whatever. Asuka. What is she the queen of now? The Empress of
Empress
Misbehavior.
Of tomorrow. Empress of Tomorrow.
The Empress of Misbehavior, Asuka,
No.
versus Bailey, the champion, who has no nickname except It's. Did they even put the apostrophe in It's? I didn't do a grammar check.
No, I don't. I don't know that you can tell when people
I
are
totally
singing.
confused you.
No.
Do you ever put closed captioning on the WWE Network? Does
No,
it
I'm
have
sure it's
closed
hilarious.
captioning? Does it have closed captioning?
I don't know. We should check.
Yeah, we definitely. All right, hold on.
That would be a great show.
Back in a second.
Just okay.
Hello?
Not right now. That
Oh
would
my
be a
God.
great show in the future.
My headset got caught in my man bun. Okay, but as far as this match goes, I don't see a title change here either. I think this is your ultimate definition of the well-traveled, well-rounded international superstar facing your virtually homegrown talent and putting your own homegrown talent over the superstar. Not that you have.
This is old school booking, in my opinion.
You don't
That's
have
what
to-
they're doing with Bailey.
you don't
That's
have
what's
to-
working, by the way.
You don't have to pad Bailey's resume. You don't have to throw her wins. She's a tremendous worker. She does very well. She has credentials so that even casual fan in the NXT circle knows she's legit. But this is basically you're world renowned, you're a superstar, we've made you untouchable. Well, now you're going to lose to our champion and make her that much better. And I think this is the situation for that. I think a lot of fans, here are in a mindset that Asuka wins and Bailey's on Raw that week, or even in WrestleMania that week. I think WWE did a bad job trolling when they made the mystery person be Eva Marie. When the mystery person could have had a buzz about it to be Bailey. And just to see what the fans would have reacted to the possibility of the mystery person being Bailey in that match at WrestleMania. Now, okay, we know better. It's Total Divas girls versus other girls. Sure. But I really didn't even get that sense until they pumped that music into my head on Monday night. Like I just thought it was 4 and 5, and then
I mean, she's the star. Like I actually thought Nikki was going to come out.
I thought Nikki was going to come out too, but there's no way she's wrestling in the match. But I thought she was going to come out.
Ready. Yeah, she's not recovered at all. So
she still has a halo on, right?
Yeah, that would be freaking insane to even imply that was going to happen. So.
I thought she was coming out because I heard she was going to be there, and she was there. But they were in New York. John Cena was in New York for the Today Show. And I just thought she was coming out, but again, Eva Marie's your person, and they closed the door on another like speculation kind of thing. They could have just to see how many Bailey signs there would have been before you announced who the fifth person was. And Eva Marie's not selling tickets, so there was no reason to mention her on Raw. But again, a lot of people, and my point to this was a lot of people think because of the fact that they think Asuka's going to win, that Bailey is going to be on Raw that week. And it's not happening, folks. Bailey's still going to be your champion. She's going to be the woman in NXT for a while. Maybe even to the point where she goes to the main roster, still the champion, somewhere in the summer.
This is what I want.
Yeah.
So Bailey wins too. Okay. This is something I've recently thought of after we had our discussion last week about, Bailey. The best way to build Bailey is as you were the champ down there. Yeah, you had some major victories, and yeah, you beat our champ. If Sasha wins at WrestleMania twice, and everyone wants to see a third match, where most likely Sasha would win, by the way. But the build for that is not going to be fast enough for people. Like you made a great point of saying last week that people think Sasha Bailey 3 needs to be as soon as her music hits on the main roster. Like it needs to be Bailey's music hits, and regardless of what's happening at that time, it could be a men's main event. The match should shut down. Sasha versus Bayley should happen on the ramp as her music is playing. That's what people think. So people want things to be significant, but they don't want them to actually be built in a significant way for some reason.
Well, not only that, but do you want Sasha Bayley 3 at Payback?
No.
At Extreme?
So
whatever, at Battleground?
I mean, at the very earliest SummerSlam.
It also works at Night of Champions.
Spot. Well, yeah, you could do it there. But
Night of Champions, it works because that's kind of like a prestigious night. SummerSlam's your second biggest pay-per-view of the year, maybe third if you want to consider Royal Rumble better. Royal Rumble, but guess what? We're talking August and beyond at that point.
Yeah, you're pushing it out too far for people. Here's what I want. So Bayley wins. I'm with you, and it's another notch in her belt, and it's making her more significant than the main roster champion because. So say it's Sasha at the end of WrestleMania. Who did she have to go through? People that Bayley's beat, essentially. Except the people that Bayley hasn't fought, like Naomi, like Tamina, like Summer Rae,
Alicia
maybe,
Fox.
or she's probably fought her. Alicia Fox, all these other ladies.
I think she did fight Alicia Fox in Summer Rae, honestly, actually.
Oh, okay. So here's what I want to see. Instead of Bayley coming up to the main roster, Bayley makes an appearance, stays on NXT, and they come down there. Not permanently, but she starts running the gauntlet on NXT TV of main roster divas.
And you know what that reminds me of?
What's that?
What they did with Bayley in 2014. When they had like Natalya and Alicia Fox and everything.
Yeah, do it again, but like bring the Bellas down.
That's interesting.
It doesn't get more prestigious than the freaking poster girls of Total Divas.
Do you want to saturate your NXT programming with main roster stuff though?
But it's once a week, once every 2 weeks, and you have the other ladies' storylines building. You have Liv Morgan, running the gauntlet through other people or having feuds with other people. You have the Australians having feuds with people. Like you start developing more story and more baby faces, by the way. And
which we figured out there are none unless they hire outside talent for the week.
Exactly. And so you start having people show up and have these matches with Bayley because she needs someone, and meanwhile you can be building someone like one of the Australians, or you can be building someone like Liv Morgan, and then they have their big test at the next Takeover against Asuka, and then Bayley has a big match against someone, maybe a heel, maybe Nia Jax works her way up,
Nikki
again,
Storm,
something like that. Sure, Nikki Storm shows up.
Galaxy's greatest wrestler.
The Galaxy's greatest wrestler from Glasgow.
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 You're insulting me by saying that.
Okay.
So here's what I want for Bayley, honestly.
But that's where I would see it making the most sense and it being really interesting and a reason for more people to watch. Because I'm sorry I cut you off, but
I just want her stripped of the title. I want her to be the champion, go to the main roster, get involved there, and everyone send her off to bigger and better things, and she kind of leaves the title in the ring with her headband. There's no, like, they did that with Paige, sort of, when Paige beat AJ a day after WrestleMania 4 years ago, or 3 years ago, and then they stripped Paige of the title because she was the Divas champion. But Bayley doesn't necessarily need the Divas title to have that sort of taken from her to graduate. But you know what? She's moving on in her career. She's focusing on the Divas title. Something happened to get her attention to kind of want to go to the main roster, to go back after Sasha, or if it's somebody else who insulted her, and now she's going to go where the big girls play and just retire the title. Have a 8-girl tournament somewhere in between takeovers and introduce all your new talent there. Your Liv Morgans, your Athenas, your whoever's.
Yeah, I like that too.
Yeah,
but
I also like her showing up as an invited guest into a female Money in the Bank or whatever match, and her walking
that'd be
away
good.
the surprise winner, and then conflict
Crowd,
of interest.
crowd
Then
goes nuts.
yeah,
Well, and that's a great test of her crowd appeal too.
I think it helps her more to
Bayley
do something
wins
like that
that.
because they love the
Yeah.
underdog winning out of nowhere.
Yeah. and
So you have
wins
Bayley
that,
supporters
we're
and
like,
people
"Who
just
is
be like,
this?"
what just happened?
Yeah.
So
What happened?
what happened? So that's it. But Asuka, is she going to be too good for the title? Is she going to be one of those wrestlers that's like, technically she should have the title, but is she going to be just the type of person who's always too good to have it? The best wrestler.
She's essentially the Brock Lesnar of the NXT Women's Division.
The best wrestler in the field.
She's a monster.
But she's not going to have the title.
Right.
I don't know. But even if she does have the title, it's not going to be this Friday. That's for sure.
I agree. We'll see, but I agree.
Do you know who Finn Balor's beard reminds me of?
I got nothing.
The Lethal Weapon, Steve Blackman.
Oh, man. Why did I not know that?
And by the way, Samoa Joe's wearing a towel in this picture, so I don't know if Taz is going to be upset. But it brings us to our last match here.
Likely.
Finn Balor versus Samoa Joe. And speaking of good but never having the title, I think that's going to be Joe's moniker in NXT. He's going to be the over guy, the veteran, the superstar, the one of several faces fans will recognize from other promotions in the United States and will acknowledge it on TV, but never win the big one. And I don't know what the long play here is with Samoa Joe. Main roster eventually? Or are we just saying this because he was a superstar in Ring of Honor and he was in TNA, which is technically WWE's competition?
I mean, according to Samoa Joe in interviews, he ain't here for the money. He's here to build the next. He's here to be basically an exec, a guy who does in-ring stuff, but a guy who can actually shape and mold the future of
is that
wrestling. True? Yeah, I mean, he hasn't specifically said those exact words, but he says something to the effect in the interview I heard after he was coming to the roster, or maybe after he had actually come to the roster, that someone asked him, so you're looking for your WrestleMania moment. He's just like, that's good, but I mean, I'm really happy where I am and happy. Who knows if they call me up and they really need me, maybe, but I'm really happy being the guy who teaches these new guys what he's very much in a, let me show you how to do this so that you can move on and be huge. I've had a huge career already. He's one of those guys that he's in it for the wrestling. He's not necessarily in it for the money.
I think that the whole creation of NXT and more so the Performance Center has it's obviously opened up a lot more jobs in the business, but I think it absolutely broadened other people's horizons to say like, hey, listen, I'm a local guy in New York and I'm training to be a wrestler, but I don't necessarily want to make WWE's main roster. I don't really want to be on Raw. But it would be tremendous if I could be a backstage person at NXT, or learn the business in NXT, or be an agent, a trainer, or whatever positions that they have. And I don't think that was a thought in people's minds 3 years ago. Everyone was just like, I want to be in WWE. I want to be the champion. I want to be at WrestleMania. And I think a lot of guys, even the veterans, the older veterans, the well-traveled ones, are just like, the road's cool and everything. Wrestling's cool, but if I can make a career out of being in the business without being on the road, that's perfect.
Yeah, especially someone like Samoa Joe, and I'm not denigrating him in any way, but he's kind of he's done it, and he's been big, and there's no what is he proving to anyone other than making some more money? But if he's away from his family more and he doesn't want to be, is that really worth it to someone like him?
And he's a guy that I put in that mold where if he debuts on the main roster, fans know him, fans care, but how long do they care? How long
Right.
do they, chant Joe for, if they chant Joe? Because, I mean, in NXT, they're not really even chanting Joe anymore. And I know he's a heel, but
Sure.
NXT are the smart mark crowd that dual chants pretty much everything, and you always have someone chanting for Joe because Joe's Joe. He was
Right.
always been a bad guy people rooted for, you know what I mean? So he's just one of those guys. He falls into the the mold where, yeah, he's a great talent. I'd love to see him wrestling top guys. I'd love to see him pushed. But it would take a very smart mark crowd to really carry him as a person who goes to Chattanooga, Tennessee, and is over with that crowd. You know what I mean?
Sure.
But
Well, and I think he realizes that, but I think he's very much a family guy, and so he's about. I don't know. Just the interview I had, the interview I heard with him made it sound like, you know what, I'm really happy at NXT, and if they need me on their main roster, that's fine. But I can live in Florida, and my family can live in Florida, and we can just hang. I can show up, record some TV, travel for a big show every now and then help other people get big. Like that's the attitude he had in that interview was,
yeah.
I don't need to be headlining WrestleMania.
So we don't see Joe winning this title at all, right? We don't see Finn Balor losing.
However,
yeah, go ahead.
I actually, if Finn Balor is going to lose the title anytime in the next 6 months, I could see him losing it at Takeover Dallas.
And you think he's main roster afterwards, and that's why?
No, I do not.
Okay.
I think he has to fight his way back up, or
you have to have a rubber match,
or maybe even have a heel turn. Maybe. I'm not saying he has.
I think this is the 24th consecutive Takeover show where you mentioned Finn Balor heel turn.
Coming. But we
know Bullet Club
coming.
coming, but we don't know. They don't need to be with AJ. They're not even going to have the Bullet Club name. They don't need to be with AJ. They don't need to be with Finn. You know what I mean? They could be their own entity, their own stable. They could have Samoa Joe as their leader.
They're selling Balor Club T-shirts. I mean, come on. It's like
they're so cliquey and insider. They could be doing that to screw with the fans as well. You know what I mean?
I don't know. I think if you want to see a T-shirt completely sell out constantly, that's what you do. Is you debut them and they're wearing Balor Club. I don't know. I don't know that Finn Balor I'm going to pick Samoa Joe for this just to be contrary. But I'm going to pick Samoa Joe for this. I don't know if Balor Club or Bulletproof or whatever they are will be part of the match, or will show up after, or if they'll be sitting in the crowd, sort of like the outsiders, sort of like Hall and Nash being these guys that are just like hanging out. What are they doing here type thing? I don't know, but I feel like Dallas is where you make a significant change in Finn Balor, where he is not, he's the champ. He's obsessed with being the best, and Joe is obsessed just that much more. So yeah.
So Joe, the heel, wins the title, and then Balor turns heel, and
Well, that's what I know. I like I said, I don't know that necessarily happens now, but I could see this setting the gears in motion. And I'm not saying the guys show up, because I think it's
they're like seconds away from showing up. So whether they show up now or they're on a match in the pre-show or for the taping of the next TV show, or they're definitely at the next set of TV tapings though. So they're like right there.
They're on the verge.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you do a surprise of them. I mean, it would be huge. Don't get me wrong. And NXT fans are NXT fans. They're watching NXT. The place is going to be packed. They're going to know who Gallows and Anderson are. I mean, it's that the talk about a pop. It'll be massive if they're just there. I don't know that Balor does a heel turn. I don't know. I don't really know how you.
I'm still shaky on if they would even know who they are. Like,
oh my God, yes they will.
Smart Mark fans would know. But
that's the NXT crowd.
That is the NXT crowd, but it's still like,
This is their biggest pay-per-view
What has Carl
ever.
Anderson done in the United States?
People know who he is, dude. I'm serious. They will pop big for them.
I'm not doubting they're going to pop, but I don't think it's like going to be.
Well, I think
the biggest debut of all time.
And I think it makes more sense here than it does at Full Sail, because
Full Sail popped for Nakamura. You know what I mean? It's in the same boat.
But do you want a few hundred people popping, or do you want thousands of people popping?
I would probably want a few hundred people popping on a closed set on a TV taping, so that you have a continuous storyline to go feed off of. Honestly, rather than a live event.
I get what you're saying, but I disagree. So yeah. I'm still going to pick Joe for the win, and it's either going to be Finn's like battle to overcome the only guy who overcame him, and this monster in Samoa Joe, or it will be Finn making a turn to deal, like becoming the monster, not the demon, becoming a monster to deal with a monster.
I'm liking
whatever it takes.
I'm liking the pick of Joe more now. I'm still going to say Finn, but Finn without a title, trying to question himself. Like, I forget the term is, but he's trying to find himself. That's the term. And here come his buddies trying to bring him to the dark side. And you have a couple weeks of TV that are like, these are his friends, but his friends are evil, and Finn's a good guy. Kind of like a
sure.
heel Lex Luger and babyface Sting being a tag team. And then like slowly but surely, unlike that, but in this situation, slowly but surely, Balor would creep into the whole accepting of the evil within him, and then you got
being more the leader of a gang,
right?
Accepting, becoming a mob boss,
embracing it. I really would like the fact of Bulletproof, Bullet Club, whatever they're going to be called. If it's Carl and Gallows, being a separate entity and going against Finn in a way, instead of like Finn being all of a sudden the automatic leader of the group just because they showed up and they were in prior years, stable together. But I don't know. Either way, it'll make for interesting TV. It's pretty cool, and that's what NXT provides. And it provides those opportunities that you don't get on Raw and SmackDown. You know what I mean? It's the whole reason for the 20-minute opening. That's what I was talking about. But all right, let's speculate here a little bit. Now, we normally do match speculation. I don't know if it's 2 hours, 2.5 hours, and there's really no need to speculate this. Apollo Crews is going to be fighting Elias Sampson. Now, it could happen in the pre-show and then it's just shown on TV the next week. Or it could be the 6th match of the card. Do we even really... like, Apollo Crews wins, right? Do we really even want to get into this? Is anything going to come out of this match?
I don't know. Does Apollo Crews win? I mean, he kind of needs a win to feel more relevant. And I'm not trying to pull the whole, well, guys have to win all the time to be relevant, but I mean he's coming off a serious match with Finn Balor, and then a squash what ended up being a squash match with Alex Riley, who I hope that isn't his role, because he will not be happy with that. From what I've heard, he
had a hot opening with that promo, and then he's just done nothing.
It's really disturbing.
I'm upset with that, actually, as a fan of wrestling.
I don't actually like what's going on with him, but anyway,
his music is so good. Like, I didn't realize that until today.
Say it to my face.
The whole like beginning of it, it's just like
it's so 80s. It's so 80s power ballad.
It's so like old. It's like entrenched in my mind from like 5 years ago on WWE TV, and then all of a sudden you start hearing it again. You're like, oh, it's almost like Legends is coming to the ring. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's
like
really
I recognize
good.
That song. Who is it?
It's really good. Yeah, but I hope we see more out of him after this. But I don't know if I'm gonna pick Elias Sampson because they promote him so hard. I know I keep picking people that
Johnny Gargano
against
beat
the
him.
grain, but I'm gonna pick Sampson. Maybe he hits
Maybe the guitar finally gets broken.
with a guitar. Yeah, maybe. I mean, if you have a guitar in the ring, it has to go over somebody's head at some point.
He'll be the new Jeff Jarrett. Breaks 1,000
Yeah.
guitars, never draws a dime.
Yeah, yeah. So
Slap nuts. So that's either going to happen at Takeover or it's going to happen at the Takeover taping before Takeover on the what will be next week's TV show. I'm sure. I don't think they're holding this over for a few weeks just to have.
I think Elias Sampson. I think it happens at Takeover because I feel like you need something else on the card. I feel like you need another ladies match too. By the way,
I feel like you do too, and that leads me to my second speculated match, something we briefly talked about, and we talked about it more before we started taping. The fact that okay, I got Alexa Bliss in my mind, I have Nia Jax in my mind. Who are my faces? Like, what girls are in the pool that aren't Emma, who's going to be at WrestleMania? Eva Marie's not a face, but just another name who's going to be at WrestleMania. Bayley and Asuka are going to be at this match. Peyton Royce and Billie Kay, they just don't seem like they're NXT Takeover ready for me.
Well, and they've been. You said this when we were talking earlier that they haven't necessarily been heels per se, but they've kind of been character heels that maybe they work as face in a match, but they're kind of character heels. So I wouldn't even consider that they're going to be your next big baby face.
You've had Liv Morgan rarely make TV. You've had your other girls have been the ones I've mentioned before. Your Evies, your Santana Garrett's, your Deonna Purrazzo's or whatever, who have been like hired for the TV taping just to fill roles. I don't know if there's going to be another women's match, and with a 2.5 hour card, I don't know if there's necessarily going to be time for it. We'll probably have something in the pre-show that gets aired the next week on NXT TV with Alexa Bliss versus somebody or whatever, but I don't know. I don't think we're going to have that, and I don't know if there's really room for any other matches or anybody who's been left off the card that's going to be on the card. Enzo and Big Cass versus the Vaudevillains is the only other thing I could think of, but then again, that's like my go-to match anytime we're trying to add another match, is just take whatever tag teams were excluded and then just pair them up, and there's our additional match, you know?
Well, we could have a mixed tag. You could put this
WWE owned company having a women and men in the same ring, even if they don't touch each other. When's the last time you saw a mixed tag? Emma and Santino versus Fandango and Summer Rae in 2012.
How about just a couple of months ago with Bayley and the Hype Bros versus?
That was on TV.
That was on TV.
Was it?
Yes.
Oh, my bad.
That's where Alexa ran off with Bayley's title, and Bayley to bellied Murphy.
I don't know why I don't remember that, but okay.
Yeah, it was so good. And that's where Bayley was introduced to Nia Jax.
You kind of have to have a story, though, to have a mixed tag, though.
Well, you could start a story here, though.
Start a story at the event.
Yeah, you got more eyes on it. More people are like, "Whoa, let's see where this goes."
You wanna advertise stuff like that. You know how I feel.
Yeah. But I think that's a good place to insert more ladies and two tag teams.
You can just insert more ladies. You can just throw them all in the match, and then you just pair them up 2x2, 3x3, and then there you go. But again, we're talking
Enzo and Cass and Carmella could be on one side of that match, and and having them on the special is better than not having them on the special, in my opinion.
But you're still talking 2.5 hours and not a 3-hour WWE pay-per-view.
Yeah.
So we already have 5 matches, 6 if we go with Apollo and Samson. So I don't think there's going to be a 7th match at all. And whatever we'll see. What's that?
I said we'll see.
We'll see. All right.
Well, especially because and you start looking at some of these matches. The tag match, I'm a little skeptical of how much time it's going to have, the tag title match, but Nakamura and Zayn are probably going to be 20 minutes plus.
I think Finn and Joe equal that time.
Yeah.
So they're with lead-ins and everything. There's an hour of the 2.5 hours right there.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I was just starting to do the math on it. I'm like, well, actually,
Bailey
you're
Asuka might
right.
even
There's
have
not a
15, 20 minutes, and tag titles might have 15, 20 minutes. So this
there's
40
not a
hour and
lot
40
of
right there is only 40 minutes left for two other matches and everything in between.
and all the promos between matches and
Yeah,
stuff like that.
and
So
whatever. But all right, so bold prediction time. We already touched on Anderson and Gallows being there. I want to say they beat Finn Balor down Shield style, where they just hop the rail. The announcers really pay
he's like,
them no
glad to see
mind by
ya.
name, and they just destroy Finn Balor after Finn Balor retains, and that's how you end the program. They just lay Finn Balor out, and then
That would be an interesting parting shot for
and
sure.
then the next week on NXT TV, it's going to be, the taped shows from the pre-show of NXT Takeover with cut-in interviews of the new guys and Balor. You know how they like to do those opposing interviews on the opposite ends of the show. I feel like that's where we're going to get that in that show. And my other bold prediction is not so much of a good one, though. I have a feeling this Takeover is going to be kind of a letdown. Not to say it's a bad show, but off of two tremendous NXT TakeOver shows and just the standard NXT has set for TakeOver events, this card leaves a lot to be desired for me. Either matches we've seen before or just stuff that really hasn't clicked with me since in the last few weeks. I feel like this is going to be the worst TakeOver of them all.
I'm going to not necessarily agree with you, but I'm going to throw one more iron into that fire, and it's that you go to Brooklyn, and Brooklyn's the best U.S. wrestling crowd there is, period. Brooklyn first, Chicago second, in my opinion. No one else even comes close, in my opinion. So you have NXT TakeOver Brooklyn. You have NXT TakeOver Respect, which is back at home base. Then you have London.
Oh, that's right. Respect was there, too. I forgot about that.
Which is the best freaking crowd in wrestling. UK crowds are just insane for entertainment in general. You talk to rock and roll artists, they say the UK. There's no other place I want to perform. You talk to actors who do live performances, and it's the UK. Like the UK audience just devours and just respects entertainment at a level just so far beyond what we do, in my opinion. So you have London, then you have Dallas at WrestleMania weekend, where yes, you're going to have your biggest fans of WWE and probably NXT there. So I'm not saying you won't have fans. What I am going to say, and this is not to be mean or anything, but what I am going to say is you also have the dilution of the casual fan there. The extremely casual, I saw signs around Dallas, I decided to get a ticket. Even though the tickets were sold out, I found a ticket, whatever. Or I know a guy or something like that.
Or people go to WrestleMania the weekend for the event. They go to everything. And they're really just there for WrestleMania and they're experiencing NXT for the first time.
Exactly.
As well.
So it's the dilution of the casual fan. Will that overcome the hardcore voices? I don't know. But it's just, like I said, it's another iron in the fire of, will this hurt the show?
It's going to be hot, but it's not going to be as hot as the last few shows.
Sure.
The matches are going to be good, but they're not going to be as good as the last few shows. And that's why I feel like this one is going to be a letdown compared to the last few. And pretty much the worst overall. But not by, like, this show's horrible standards. It's just, you're not going to beat...
Well, every show can't be great.
You're not going to beat the last ones they've had.
Yeah, every show can't be amazing. And hopefully that we're completely proven wrong by this and the crowd gets hot from the beginning and they're totally in it the rest of the time. And that just really adds to the show and everything matters. But you're right. The matches, they're good from a building NXT perspective, in my opinion. they're not necessarily good for a major show, possibly your biggest show ever perspective. Because like Austin Aries, Baron Corbin, there's a lot of interesting dynamics to that. You have the guy who's being built as sort of your top heel of NXT, and then you have this guy from the outside who's a legend outside of NXT. That's hitting a lot of buttons.
And they worked together
really
for less than 10 minutes on one TV taping that aired 4 weeks ago. So that's my main point, is there hasn't been a lot of stuff where people have been interacting, butting heads back to back, week after week. Joe and Finn, yes. Bailey and Asuka have just been in the same ring together. They haven't had any altercations, and the tag team matches.
Revival and American Alpha haven't been in the ring together.
Yeah,
Nakamura and Zayn is new. Aries and Corbin, like you just said, is basically new, and they haven't had anything.
Nakamura and Austin,
each other.
Just they haven't been there.
Right.
They haven't had anything. They haven't had squash matches. They just haven't had anything. So,
yeah,
it leaves a lot to be desired. It leaves a lot to be like. There's a basement in this. Like, if you're coming into a perspective of how is this event going to be, well, the ceiling's unlimited because it's just the standard they've set. Like, there's no amount of highs that could really describe the last couple of shows that they've had. They've been great. But this one feels like it has a basement, too. Like, my expectations could be pushed down. My fun factor, whatever you want to call it, how much I get into it feels like it could be negative this time, and it hasn't felt that way for a long time with NXT.
Yeah. And it could very well be that it's just you have two outsider matches. That could very well be the biggest.
I'm very scared.
The biggest drain on it is that you have these two guys who no one in the WWE bubble has ever seen showing up.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's one of those things where you're trying to bring in star power to make the show bigger, but with what NXT is, did you necessarily make it bigger by just kind of announcing that they were going to happen and not necessarily having any sort of significant bit, like not putting?
Because if you're a casual fan, what have you seen of Austin Aries and Nakamura on WWE TV, NXT TV?
Yeah, I mean, you've just seen the promos.
You don't even know how they
you
wrestle.
haven't even seen anything from Aries.
No, you've seen nothing from Aries, and you've seen a little bit from Ireland on Nakamura, or was that England?
Yeah.
Probably, I think it was Ireland, right? That promotion.
But NXT, I have no reason to have no faith in them. So I have faith that they've built the show properly, and they know, or that the show will be constructed properly within itself. It's just getting there is kind of like and so I get where you're coming from. I don't think it'll be a bust, but
I'm not saying bust. I'm just saying worst one they've done.
Yeah, just not what we've seen in the past 3 times.
When you're ranking them, you're just going to say, okay, Brooklyn was good, London was second, the 4-way one was third, and you just kind of then it's like, the Dallas one was kind of depending on title changes or title changes, debuts, stuff like
weekend.
Here's the one question for you before we head off, because it wouldn't be an NXT review or preview or whatever if you didn't, 1, mention Finn Balor is going to turn heel, or 2, speculate on Hideo Itami's role in this show.
Well, I wouldn't, but because I forget that Hideo Itami exists. But
I think last time, well, it's been 4 months, right, since London or whatever. London was the last one, right? I keep getting confused. It's been 4 months, so he's been off your mind for 4 months. But what is Hideo Itami's role in NXT Takeover? Check a box. Will he 1, not appear, 2, appear ringside, or 3, make a contribution in the ring somehow?
I could see them showing him in the audience during the Nakamura Zayn thing, just because you have the Japanese connection.
Follow-up question.
Yeah, but that would be the only thing I would see.
They replaced Yoshitatsu with Itami as being their Japanese guy. Did they just replace Itami with Nakamura? Can they have 2 Japanese guys coexist in the WWE world? Because they haven't in 30 years.
Fair enough. That's true. It's what
They had Kai and Tai, but
Kai and Tai.
Funaki
But,
really they kind of like both half wrestlers in the world.
Yeah, well, Funaki was a great narrator,
Yeah,
and still is to this day.
No,
by
both
the way.
of them when they used to come out and just lip sync to the whatever, and just Funaki would just say "indeed." That was the best part. Well, he wouldn't say it; he would lip sync it. But
Right, but yeah, yeah, I would say if we see Hideo, he's probably going to be ringside. They'll make the connection there, and I could see them actually pitting Hideo versus the King of Strong. That would be interesting to have a Japanese feud on American wrestling TV. I think that could be really interesting. So, especially when you've got the King of Strong Style in the mix there, that could be cool. I would like to see that. Would they do it?
I think it's
would
natural
happen anywhere,
they do it.
It would happen in NXT.
I think even in WWE in the world, I would think it'd be natural for them to do it because they just make those ethnic and cultural bias kind of pairings throughout history where, Del Rio has to fight Kalisto. Del Rio has to fight Rey Mysterio. Rey Mysterio has to fight Eddie Guerrero. I just think I think they set a precedent for that over the years to the point where if they did have two Japanese guys, they would definitely be in a feud with each other or a tag team with each other. It's one or the other. I don't think they work the opposite ends of the card.
But I most likely would enjoy that feud in NXT. How about that?
I think I would enjoy any feud in NXT better than the main roster just because it's just
because it matters.
I don't know what it is. It's smaller audience, more intimate setting. Better.
They just make it matter.
It's not 5 hours of mindless TV. It's 1 hour of TV that matters. Yeah. You know what I mean? So
yep.
Anyone else you think that's gonna pop out?
Anyone
who's not a legend and there from the main roster, somebody who's like returning or on the cusp of making the.
Hideo would be the guy that I think a lot of people would get most on board with. And we mentioned the Gallows and Anderson connection. I feel like now's the best time to do that personally.
What if they did an NWO and Gallows and Anderson were like taking over and they had this hidden third guy and the hidden third guy wound up to be a Tommy when he's ready to come back?
That'd be interesting. That would be interesting.
And then he's just pissed off at Finn because Finn took his spot, capitalized on his injury that was all supposed to be for him, and he went and hired his friends to.
Story kind of writes itself.
Yeah, that's pretty good. I'm going to send an email now. So
yeah, go ahead and send that to Hunter.
All right, last thing.
It's hunter@tripleh.com.
do you know? Is that lowercase or capital H?
Well, and you spell out triple. It's TRIPLE, and then it's actually HHH. So
Triple H.
Triple H.
Do you know what the best part about this is going to be?
What you got?
Mauro Ranallo on the pre-show.
Oh yeah, I forgot. Oh my gosh.
Oh, and by the way, confirmed.
Renee,
I don't know if I said it. Confirmed
Lita,
is Apollo
and
what's his name? It's confirmed now.
Okay, so it's confirmed.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So Renee, Lita, and Mauro Ranallo.
It's gonna be good.
And I would have to imagine Corey Graves.
But
they didn't put his picture.
They only showed them on the graphic.
Yeah, they didn't put Corey Graves' picture.
Yeah, I would imagine they throw it to Graves and.
Oh yeah, that's right. He wouldn't be pre-show. He's main announcer.
Yeah.
Now, my bad.
I mean, he's the anchor. So.
If he doesn't have another concussion after that friggin' bump he took.
Good God, yeah. I'm glad that was pre-recorded. Holy moly.
That was sick. All right, so. Yeah, so there we have it. I mean, we can speculate on main roster guys being there or whatever, but I don't think any of them will have a role. I think it's just going to be...
I feel like you'll have more legends in this crowd than anything.
Well, it is. I mean, I think so too.
Like random guys showing up, I feel like you'll have a lot of legends.
And I'm not going to say this on the point where I feel like the legends want to be there and watch the match, but since it's WrestleMania weekend and everyone's going to be there who's anybody with WWE, I think they're just going to rotate people backstage to sit front row. And then the next time you cut away, the new batch of guys is going to be in the same seat with the same people behind them. It's just like, oh, look who's also here. Well, no, they're in the same seat as the outsiders were in. I can see the same girl in behind them.
Now, I'll tell you what. If you had X-Pac just hanging out when Gallows and when Gallows and Anderson show up and he too sweeted them, that would be pretty brilliant.
Yeah, I would like that. I don't know how X-Pac rolls with that though. I don't know if he's in with the Young Bucks and everybody for doing that, or I don't know if he's a bitter legend that says you stole my spot, whatever.
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know. I don't follow him on Twitter to know that if he praises or lashes out on him, but I'm sure he has an opinion one way or another. Because what salty legend doesn't?
Yeah, true enough.
So, all right, that's about it for us. We're going to be recording the whatever show, WrestleMania show tomorrow. So
whatever show.
I flaked for a second. I didn't know.
Biggest stage of them all.
Biggest stage of them all. 18 hours of wrestling spread across 18 channels, but we'll save that for tomorrow. So until then, I'm the Duke. Good morning, good evening, hello, goodbye.
He's Angry Larry. I'm the Duke. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever it is for you.
Get off my computer. Until tomorrow, then you can come back. And then you can gotta get off again. Bye.